Welcome to Books, Kids, and Creations, a part of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. I'm your host, Tracy Blom, and I feature people who inspire future generations with their work. And today I have a fabulous author all the way from Australia, Catharina Steel, and we are going to be talking all about her brand new book, The Vanishings, which is it's a wonderful chapter book, and it's for, those fantasy lovers, kids who love books like Percy Jackson, and it has so much excitement and magic and nature in it. So I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me on.
And I can always tell. So I'm a big gardener. You can see the background. I have my bug book. I love nature. I love bugs and all things fairies and magic. And I immediately, when I was reading your book, I was like, wow, she must love nature. So can you talk to me about, what inspired this book, The Vanishings? And is it based off of like a real place or a like forest you visited? Or how did this book come to be?
It's based on I've spent a lot of time hiking and out in nature. And I also used to read a lot of fantasy books and love them. And when you're walking in nature and you look at you zoom, it's like you got your pretend camera on and you zoom in and you can see there's this hollow in near the base of the trunk of a tree and it looks a little bit like a door could be there, and then you let your imagination just take that away. And I also have a love for design of houses, architecture, and I just pictured these houses in this forest. I saw the twin mushroom home and this fairy's house within the trunk of a tree, and the Mort's fort, and the witch's housemaid in an old knee-high boot. And I could just really vividly see this in this forest. And I don't know, the story just kind of flowed from there. And I guess and setting it in a forest setting was just natural to me. There's so much beauty and magic in a forest.
Absolutely. And you can really feel it. And I know right before we started recording, I was talking about how strong of a writer you are. I mean, as soon as you open the book, it's like you're just sucked into this world. And talk about maybe like your craft and how you started writing and why, like, what was your process like for this book?
Um, when I started writing this book, I attempted to write in holidays that I'd had off work and stuff, but I never really had the time to develop my writing, to finish a story. And so now I had the time and I just started writing. I had no training in writing though. And so I did stop and I was like, how many words per chapter? So I was Googling all these things like, is that relevant? I didn't know. I would just Google it. And I just kind of wrote the story without any real idea about what I was doing. And then I worked with some editors and I started learning some things. And then I spoke to some people and they pointed out a couple of things that I didn't have. I'm like, I think I need to do a bit more learning. And so I worked with a book coach and she really, really helped me a lot. My writing went from no, okay to much better. And I just really started to understand a few things. So I've kind of learned how to write with this book. And I did like a complete rewrite and it's been through a lot of edits. But there's so much joy in it as well, because when you can see the difference between how you previously had it to what you've made it to, like how it's become, and you just go, I get it, and it fills you with so much joy and happiness that you've brought this story to life, for others that I hope will enjoy as well, you know.
Right, right. And so did you outline any of it, or did you just like go and create what you thought was wanting to be there?
I didn't even know the ending. I just started writing. But I mean, now I did actually go and do an outline to,
Yeah,
look at the cause and effect of one scene to another. And and now I still do that exploratory, I call it exploratory writing now, where I kind of start to write some scenes and I'm getting a feeling for the characters and the setting and like the world that they're in and how that's impacting on them, and
yeah,
what it look like. And once I've sort of got an idea about what the story is and what it's about, then I do actually do the structure now, and I actually also have like really detailed lists for characters and
yeah,
all that
yeah.
stuff.
I was wondering about that because you have your witch and you also have a wizard, and I've always found that like when I'm writing about like dark characters, I don't know why, but I feel like they're funner to write. I don't know if that's been your experience or if you have like what was your experience like creating these character backstories?
Which was hard at first. I think I was scared of letting myself be mean.
Yeah, yeah,
um, but then I got into it and I started to sort of see that there was a lot more to her than just being mean. Like, she was mean because of things,
yeah,
and she's sort of also been led down this path. And when I started to really kind of get a feel for her, that's when she came alive for me. And that's when I really started to be able to write her. So it does pay to really kind of get to know your characters, um, and to figure out that backstory. Like, what is that?
yeah, yeah. And so you have some creatures in your books and you have some magic. So what is, if you had to pick, what is like your favorite magical part of the story? And do you want to like maybe give a little preview of what that is?
Uh, some favorite part. I think my favorite part would be when the were dog Tippy, uh, she has she came after Tilly earlier on, and her cousins, and Tilly had injured it, but then they helped to heal the wet dog. And so the were dog's actually switched sides now, and she comes to Tilly's rescue just as they're fleeing out of the forest about midway through, and she protects Tilly from another were dog. And when they realize that this this change has occurred with this were dog, they're like, how does that happen? And but I just liked how showing someone kindness, like a living thing kindness, how that can really turn a person around, whether it's turning their day around or in a much more deeper sense.
Yeah,
That would be my
yeah,
most part.
yeah. There's so many good lessons in your story, and it's just so well written. Um, so I guess if you had to talk about maybe like some of the lessons that you hope that young readers take away from your book, kindness and empathy, changing people and things, that's one. What are maybe a couple more?
Stop and think. Like, I do still do this on occasion. This is definitely based on my own experience. I have a tendency to jump in with both feet, and I don't.
Me too. Me too.
I just, I guess I have a an explorer. I love exploring, and an adventure. So I tend to just go right in. But that can also, you can get into sticky situations. And so if you kind of spend a little bit of time thinking, oh, hang on, wait a minute, maybe we should have a few things in place here and just do a little bit of planning. And then you can actually make the adventure even better.
Right. That's right. Yeah. I've been on both sides of that for sure. That's why I was laughing because I'm like, oh, I've been that person that's jumped in with both feet and been like, oh, whoops, should have planned that.
And the thing is, it is one of those things that as you get older, you kind of do it. And it did take me like, I it's so hard to like something exciting is presented to you. It is really hard to
Yeah.
like stop and not dive in. But it does help to plan. And but I mean, I guess I did it again with this book because I just started writing
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
planning, and I kind of had to go back and do a lot of work to make it better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a phenomenal book. Are you working on book two already? I would assume, I think.
Yeah, I pretty much I have to do a bit of editing because I had written this one already before the edits.
Yeah.
So I've got some more scenes I need to add in and just some edits, but the bulk of it is basically written already. Um, so I hope to get that ready in a few months' time to my editor, and fingers crossed she
Yeah.
will have some good feedback for me.
Yeah. And also, so you're in Australia, but your book publisher is it's through Simon and Schuster. So readers all over the world can pick up your book, right?
Yes, and it is in US English, and just because that seems to have a larger audience that reads US English over AU English. So I did have to learn. It was funny because my editors would come back and they'd be like, "You're using this word, but it doesn't. It's we don't really call it that." I was
Well,
like,
like what? I guess that's like my bad. I didn't know that there were different like I mean, I know that there's sayings and things, but I didn't know there were like actual there's like EU English versus
"Oh yeah,
regular like American English.
yeah. Well, we do spell things differently. So organization for one, you have a Z. We
Yeah.
that's we use S.
Oh,
So
okay.
um, so I was already aware of some the spelling differences,
Yeah.
um, which actually comes in because I looked it up. Like, why does America spell some things differently?
Yeah.
And so I went and found out, and it was when you separated from England. And part of that, you decided to change the spelling of certain words
Mm,
to kind of say, really separate yourself from England, basically.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That makes
there are
sense.
some, like things like I think a lot of Australians do this, but I'm probably more lazy, I guess, in that everything's a cupboard. So the kitchen cupboards, whether they're on the wall or underneath, they're just cupboards. The bathroom cabinets are cupboards. The cupboards, the wardrobes, whether they're built-ins or just a standing wardrobe, they're
That's
just cupboards.
funny. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I've like just never thought about things like that, and when how they would translate. But I guess you find that out along the way, and that would be the same for anybody who's, in America that's trying to write for an audience in another country as well. So yeah,
You
good
have to
things to be
think
aware
about
of.
these things. But that's also why it was good for me to have US based editors
Mm,
because they would pick up on things like that. Whereas
yeah.
if I was to work with an editor here, they wouldn't be aware of those things necessarily. And it there potentially be some problems as a result, like miscommunication, you know, something like that. The
Yeah.
person reading it probably would pick it up, but there were some things there that were quite different. So it was just interesting. I mean, You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the journey of the writer, it's like you start in one place and then, you just learn along the way. And I know the value of a book coach and a value of editors. It's just next level that helps you. And so it is a
Are you,
journey writing a
are
book.
you like me? I get excited when I get my edits back. I look forward to
Yes,
getting edits back.
I do too. I do too. Because I'm like, ooh, how did they make this better? Is my
Yeah,
mentality. How are they making this better? And what could I do better next time when I'm
yeah.
writing? Yeah.
And I also just get excited when I see how much better it gets, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, and
Everyone's like, oh, why didn't I do that? I think that
yeah,
way too. Like, why
they
didn't I
just
write
like
it
do
that way?
tweaks, and you're just like, oh,
Right. Like, oh, that sounds better.
yeah,
And always learning, always learning.
exactly. I
Yeah.
still got so much to learn. As I came, I still feel like I've like having there's so many more rules that I need to understand. Not that I don't intend to break them, but I think if you're going to break them, it's best to understand them first, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I was reading Stephen King's On Writing book, and he talks
Mm.
about his writing process. And he talks about like how he does a draft first and then he tries to shrink it by 10%. And I'm like, oh, I guess removing things out. So he goes back through and like tries to make it skinnier each time, which I guess that's what you should do, but that's hard. It's really hard to do.
I I didn't. I know of the book. I haven't actually read it yet, but I do know like there is something to be said for being quite brutal in your edits.
Yeah.
I've cut out scenes like I've thousands and thousands of words that I've gone out with
Right.
because it didn't serve my story.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
that's tough to do too.
well, the trick that how I get around it is much less painful. Is that I don't delete them. I save them.
I do that
And
too. I have a whole folder of just deleted scenes where I'm like, maybe this will go somewhere someday.
I have had some where I've pulled them back in. And I've had to edit them a little bit, but I've had to pull them back in.
Yeah.
And because, oh, hang on, this is now missing. But at the same time, that's where editors are so great because you know your story so well, right?
Yeah.
And you can't see like because you know it in your head. So when you're reading it, it all makes sense.
Right.
But when somebody else reads it, they're like, I'm missing something here.
Right. Right. So good, so helpful to have another set of eyes, whether it's a book coach, whether it's a friend or a writer's group or a peer group or anything. Yeah.
Beta readers,
Yes.
anybody you can get to help read your book is so important.
Yeah. Well, I absolutely loved your book, and I appreciate you taking time to be here today. We're going to post links to where readers can go pick up your book and follow along with your journey and your series. So, thank you so much for being here, and have a great
Thank you
and
for having
magical
me.
day.
Yeah, you too.